Oso Ighodaro, NBA Draft Scouting Report Series. We continue here. Riley Davis is with me to help break down Marquette's very dynamic center. Oso Ighodaro ended up on our big board all the way down at 35. Now, I think that's around where he's being mocked, but I got to be honest, I'm a little surprised he landed this low. I ranked him the highest out of the four of us. I had him 33rd on my big board, and I thought I was being low on Oso. Riley, you had him 45th on your big board. Give me a general overview of your thoughts on Oso Ighodaro.
Yeah, he's exceptionally versatile, has incredible feel for the game. Like there are just highlight montages out there of his passes. He's really good on the short roll. He's really good at dribble handoffs. He can make cross court passes. Is everything you want from that end. Pretty good athlete. Tested pretty well from the like max vert, 2 foot vert. Sorry, I might be butchering all the categories here. He tested well from the vertical leaps perspective at the combine as well. Can block some shots too. I think there's this part of me that can't get all the way there with him because he was sort of inconsistent throughout his career. That's honestly what's holding him back the most, and he's a little bit skinny. But yeah, is there anything you'd add to that as the one who is higher on Oso than me?
Not really. I just think he's one of those guys who was a great college player, and you just don't know if it's going to translate to NBA. And I fall victim to believing in those guys a lot because I am a huge fan of college basketball. That's what I watch. And if I fall in love with a player at the college level, I want to talk myself into them being great in the league. But it's a different game. There's different needs, there's different situations. And the thing about Oso is he does things very differently than most centers. Like he has this floater package that most centers shouldn't even need. But so much of what Oso did at Marquette was the two-man game, the pick and roll with a very great floor general passer in Tyler Kolek. And I think more on this later, situationally, he needs to find a place that has his NBA version of Tyler Kolek. And if he can be an accessory to somebody's driving engine, he can be a very, very helpful player. If you just pluck him on any given team and expect production, you might not get what you're expecting, but he does enough versatility wise that I do believe this could work out well. So let's get to our categories here. One word to describe Oso Ighodaro. What do you got?
I put enigmatic, and it ties into what you were saying about projecting a really good college player. And we've talked about his uniqueness. You mentioned his floater. I mentioned his passing. He's I think I might have already said this in my breakdown, like exceptionally high feel, super cerebral. Sometimes you need more than that in the NBA, though. Like I've been burned by these types of players before. I thought Xavier Tillman was going to be a starter for playoff teams because he was such a phenomenal playmaker in the paint, like at the 5 position. And I know he's, cracking the rotation for the Celtics right now, but I would say he's not quite where I thought he was. Different position, but Jake LaRavia was a similar type who could make plays from the front court. Loved his like size and playmaking ability, and he hasn't really done much for the Grizzlies. And so that is where I can't quite get there with Oso, especially because, you know, with his skill set, you want a team that's going to let him play make, but I don't know if he's like good enough that a team's going to run offense through him at the NBA level.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think they ever will either. Unless it's kind of like, you know how like in college, Danny Hurley just became such a genius that it's like, oh, he can do shit other coaches can't do because it works. That's sort of like there are select spots in the NBA that I think would feature Oso and use some of that passing because they're geniuses and they have infrastructures and the right personnel around them. There are a lot of teams that would try it and it would be a disaster though, for sure. And the other thing is like he's not a great rebounder. Like he only pulled in 4 defensive rebounds a game last season. Like if he is going to stick in the NBA, to me he needs to be like a legitimate 5 man. And he's only 6'9". He's only 200 pounds. He's gonna have to put on weight. Honestly, it'd be great if he grew. I don't think he's gonna grow at 22, but he's kind of like a tweener. And without the perimeter game, you're playing a really undersized 5. So there's
Right.
gonna be some give and some take with that. I said he's unique. That's the word I kept stumbling on. I was trying to think of something a little deeper than this, but the reality is, for a big man, I just think the kid's extremely unique. He plays like Oso Ighodaro. He doesn't really play like many other bigs that I've seen before. And I think NBA teams are going to kind of have to treat him like a puzzle where, if you figure out how to put the puzzle together, it can be great and beautiful. If you're kind of just like impatient or bored and it doesn't fit right away, you're probably just going to throw it out and be like, that sucks. Give me a Rubik's Cube. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Is he more likely to hit his floor or his ceiling in the NBA?
I think it's floor, and it's everything you touched on. It's the only being 6'9", it's being skinny. Again, as I'm like thinking through this, more of these high IQ players are coming to my mind who haven't worked out, like Sandru Mamishkvili,
Oh,
Mamu. Uh,
Mamu.
my guy is on the Spurs. I thought this dude should be a first rounder. He had better stats than Oso at Seton Hall. The man averaged 18, 8, and 3 in the same league, and he's struggling to crack 5 points a game in the NBA. Like, that's why I would unfortunately say floor for Oso.
Yeah, I think that's the more reasonable outcome. On a lot of these guys, floor or ceiling just straight up comes down to, do I believe in this player or not? And sometimes I can't quantify it. I do believe in Oso, and I did go ceiling. I think at some point there will be the right team that rolls the dice on him. That's the only reason. Because if he lands on the wrong team, it's not going to work. But there is a very specific team that I will bring up time and time again for the rest of these two videos, which leads me to this. Best team fit for Oso Ighodaro. What's the ideal landing spot for him?
Well, you teased it. You go first.
It's the Golden State Warriors. It's the Golden State Warriors. He needs to go to a system that is in place. And yes, the dynasty's coming to an end. They're running out of time. I get it. But how many different guys have we seen play minutes in the Golden State Warriors front court? And it seems like it's always just new, fresh legs that are bouncing around, and they run these dribble handoffs. And all these guys need to do is block some shots, rebound, catch and dunk wide open shots off of the gravity that their shooters provide. Look, I don't know how long Steph Curry is going to play in the league. I certainly don't mean to compare Tyler Kolek to Steph Curry, but you have to play with a guy who's a genius that knows how to play a two-man game in a system. Steph Curry's been doing that with whoever's playing the Warriors center spot for years and years and years. I think he could learn from Draymond Green if Draymond Green is still with the Warriors. I think, quite frankly, not to spoil one of my player comps, Oso can do 90% of what Trace Jackson Davis has done. And TJD went from an afterthought, the last pick in the draft, to like a breakout rookie sensation in the second half of the season. And I think that is a spot where Oso could be the best version of himself.
You might have spoiled my best case comp as well. Uh,
Wow.
I love the Warrior shout. To that point, I think TJD would just be like, I am the better version of you. Have fun on the bench. You could make a similar case for like the Nuggets. Like maybe when Jokic is on the bench, you just have this guy who is like mega super diet Jokic, who you can run, put whatever guard, whatever wing running around him and let him make reads, make plays. I would also like to see him on the Wolves just because I think you could play him next to Cat. You could play him next to Naz Reid, and it would be such a fun changeup from Rudy Gobert, who, sort of a negative offensively. And I think he has enough of that shot blocking and the defensive chops to where he'd fit into their defensive identity.
Completely agree with you there. I think it's very noteworthy. We're just rattling off playoff teams with superstars. That is what Oso needs to have a shot to land in this league. Peak year stats. What do Oso Ighodaro's peak year stats look like? His best season in the NBA.
7 points, 5 boards, 5 assists.
5 assists, really?
Maybe that's ambitious. Let's knock it down to 3.5.
Okay. We've been pretty dialed on a lot of this stuff, Riley. I have 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, and a steal. I don't ever anticipate he's going to be like a featured 30-minute guy, but I think if one of your bench guys is giving you 8, 5, 2, 1, and 1, you feel fantastic about that guy. In 5 years, where is Oso Ighodaro? Your options are all NBA, all-star, starter, bench, G League, overseas, or podcaster.
Overseas, and that's the first overseas grade I've given out. I feel like I'm
Oh,
coming across as like I hate Oso. I really enjoyed watching him play. I just can't get there because of it's the size, it's the unorthodox style that I don't know. Like again, it's so dependent on what's his fit, what NBA team can actually use that.
yeah, it is. It's the hard part of this exercise. I realize as we work our way down the Google sheet, we're gonna start giving out a lot of really mean grades to people, and it feels gross. Like I gave Kevin McCullough overseas earlier, and I felt so mean about it.
That is mean.
It's really mean, but like there's look, let's be honest for a second, folks, okay? Can we do like the fourth wall breaking here? Okay, this draft class stinks, right? Everybody says it stinks. We've all accepted this is like the worst draft class in NBA history. Guess what? Not every single player in the top 40 is going to be on a roster in 5 years. Like we have to take some shots and say there's guys we don't believe in. I think that was courageous, Riley. I think that was bold, and I think it was honest, and I think it's probably accurate because there is a lot that needs to go right for Oso to stick in the league. With that said, I said bench. It's all dependent. I think he's got to find a landing spot that I believe in, and a playoff team would do well with him and give him a shot. Superlative time. Oso Ighodaro, out of every single player in this draft class, is the most likely player to do what?
Pass up a layup for a flashy pass.
Assist merchant Oso Ighodaro.
Assist merchant Oso Ighodaro. Or actually, no, I'm gonna let you say yours first.
I mean, the one thing I will say, he can't win that award as long as Tyler Kolek's in the draft, right?
Tyler, yeah, I was gonna take a shot at Tyler Kolek, but I'll hold back.
Which one of those two do you think taught the other one to pass up open layups for extra passes? I think it was Kolek.
I think it goes all the way to the top, and I'm blaming Shaka.
Shaka's fault.
Shaka was so tired of people saying his offenses were trash to where he said, let's make this as unselfish and as aesthetically pleasing as possible.
It's going to be such a culture shock for Marquette next season, man. I'm telling you. I said that Oso Ighodaro is actually the most likely to win you your fantasy basketball league. So some context here. I am horrific at fantasy basketball. So if I say that this is good for Oso, it probably means bad things for him. But it's one of those things where like I've been in the same league with the same 10 guys for like 12 years. I always finish last. And then I look at the roster of the person who won the league every single year, and it has 0 stars on it, and it's like scrounged together with waiver wire guys that just
Mm.
like load up the steals and blocks and percentages. That's Oso to me. Like Oso's going to be like available in every fantasy basketball league on the planet, and he's going to probably get a block and steals per game and passing as a big man. Like I just think he's going to fill the stat sheet if he gets an opportunity, and I can see it working.
I haven't played fantasy basketball in like 5 years. One of the best decisions I've ever made.
And no comment. That's the video. Thank you for watching. We have a bunch of these. We're doing 75 of these leading up to the NBA draft itself. Go subscribe to the Sleepers channel so you can see them all. The NBA draft is coming up, and I've got something awesome for you. We are partnering with the people at NBA 2K Lab. NBA 2K is the best video game on earth. The people at 2K Lab are making some awesome stuff to make that game even more fun, and they just launched their 2024 NBA Draft Simulator, where you can find the official Sleepers Media big board. We ranked our top 75 players in this draft class. Me, Carter, Brian Ralph, Riley Davis. We did it together, and it is featured on the 2K Lab NBA Draft Simulator. You can take control of any team in the draft, play GM with just one click, and see our entire rankings before these videos even come out. Check out the link in the description of this video to try out the draft sim for yourself, and you can find more mini games at nba2klab.com/nba-mini-games.